Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. This is Sir Jer's channel. This time, let's talk about action research proposal or the rudiments of crafting an action research proposal. But before that, don't forget to hit like and click subscribe. Let's go. Before we proceed, let me just give you a simple background or an overview of the action research. And action research is actually based on four themes. We have teaching and learning, we have child protection, we have human resource development, and governance. Okay, so for a classroom teacher like me, we'll be dealing about letter A, teaching and learning. Okay, so what basically is an action research? Ganito yun. An action research is actually designed to target the problem that is happening inside our classroom as a subject teacher. Okay, according to DepEd Order number 16 in 2017, action research is a systematic reflective inquiry to improve educational practices or resolve problems in any operating unit, be it in school, classroom, or in an office. So for us classroom teachers, our context will be the classroom. Okay, so there is a problem existing in our classroom, we have to make an action, but we have to back up our action with research. Okay, we're trying to bridge the gap that is happening in that particular classroom, in that particular class, in your subject area. Action research is a form of investigation designed for use by teachers to attempt to solve the problems and improve professional practices in their own classrooms. So for example, you have non-readers or your students are not getting along with their mathematical skills on how to solve word problems, something to that effect. So it involves systematic observations and data collection or data collection, which can be then used by the practitioner researcher in reflection, decision making, and the development of more effective classroom strategies. That's according to Parsons and Brown in 2002. Okay, so you have to back it up with evidence. It must be evidence-based. You have to collect data, gather data to make it more of a research. Okay. So here I have different titles or sample titles for action research, and you tell me what will you observe from these titles. First, we have TED Talks in improving the public speaking skills of grade 7 learners in English. So if you can notice, the intervention being used is TED Talks. The problem that's being addressed here is the public speaking skills of who? Of the grade 7 learners in English. So there are three important elements here. Another example, reading comprehension skills improvement of grade 6 pupils through reading remediation using short reading selections. So the three elements, we have the intervention to be used, we have the problem, and then the class or the section being targeted. There is no definite standard kung alin sa mga to yung dapat unahin. Pwedeng mauna yung intervention dun sa inyong title ha. Pwede ring mauna naman yung inyong problem na ina-address. Alright? So we have here play-based learning in improving the reading skills of kindergarten learners. And number 5, scaffolding strategy in developing the solving word problem performance of grade 5 pupils. Okay, this goes to say na hindi lamang po ito sa English subject, kasi di ba madalas puro reading interventions. Hindi lang din ito sa mathematics subject. Later on, I will be sharing different sample titles, various sample titles in different learning areas, which you may use as your reference. Okay, so let's try to discuss the basic parts of an action research. So we have here this first three parts, the context and the rationale, the action research questions, proposed innovation, intervention, and strategy. And we have the fourth one, the action research methods, and so on and so forth. Kasi mamaya, i-delve deeper natin one by one. And then 5, 6, 7, and 8 would be your references. Okay? So there are basically 8 parts of the action research. Now, let's talk about the first part or chapter 1. We have the context and rationale. Your context and rationale is your introductory part of the action research that you're trying to do. So we have here the basic parts of the context and the rationale. First, the personal definition and claim. How would you define whatever it is that you're trying to address? Let's say, would that be reading comprehension? Would that be mathematical problems? And of course, there should be a claim. What is your claim? Which must be supported in the body with evidences. Now, the tricky part here is that we don't just put evidences sa gusto nating way. There is a standard that we're trying to use here. We're using the funnel method. We begin with the international, the highest level, and then national, and then local or SDO. So always ganun yung ating paglalagay ng ating mga evidence or ng ating mga related literature. And then of course, you have your conclusion. Okay, the discussion about the present problem being encountered in your classroom. Okay, so sasabihin mo doon na parang hence the conduct of this study, or thus the speaker would like to conduct this study, or thus the proponent would like to conduct this study. This actually is very easy to do, especially if you're a linguist. So ako dito sa aking context and rational, I only had 3 pages dun sa aking context and rational. 1, 2, 3. Tapos may context sumabra lang sa pang 4th page. So parang 3 pages lang kasi meron namang space dito na hindi nagamit for the introduction or for the context and rational. So you can do this, no? Alright? Another thing is that in the context and rational, you should include there your reasons for conducting the study. Why are you going to conduct the study? And justification about the significance of the problem. Of course, it must be really relevant. That's why you would like to conduct that action research or that study. And you have to begin with general information and then gradually narrow it down to provide more specific information, or what we call the funnel method, from the biggest idea or from the widest scope rather, down to the division-based or SDO-based reference or source. Okay? And then finally, get down to your topic and give an idea of what research has been done on this topic and what is missing. There might be studies prior to the conduct of your study, and then what would be your additional input in that study that would address the problem being stated. Okay, this is the gap in research. Then explain what specifically you're going to do to address this gap. So now we proceed to second part, or the chapter 2, the action research questions. The research questions help writers focus their research by providing a path through the research and writing process. Merong mga ibang researchers na gumagamit ng 3 na action research questions. Others are using 4 or even 5, no? So, wala namang standard na nakalagay kung ilan yung minimum and maximum for these action research questions. On our division, okay, maybe meron sa ibang division, but on our division in the SDO, Santiago City Region 2, wala naman po. A research question is a specific inquiry which the research seeks to provide a response to. It resides at the core of systematic investigation. It helps you to clearly define a path for the research process. Typically, with the right research questions, you will be able to gather useful information for your investigation. Actually, itong research question, sobrang dali lang nito kasi may pattern naman na. Depende pa yan kung isang group or dalawang group yung gagamitin mo, for the action research. Okay, here are some examples of action research. Ito, meron siya. Number 1, what is the score of the students before and after the utilization of the intervention na ginamit niya? Sa co-teacher ko to actually. Is there a significant difference between the pre-test and the post-test before and after the utilization? And then what is the effect size or magnitude of the difference? Ganun lang naman siya. Laging ganun. What is the score of the students before and after? What is there a significant difference? And then what is the effect size? Alright? So that is your action research questions. Now, you can match, or you should match your action research questions to your data analysis. So, kung ano yung nilalaman ng action research questions mo, it must also be evident in your data analysis. Okay? So, to determine the score of the students before and after the utilization, mean and standard deviation will be used. Okay? Dito naman, is there a significant difference? To determine the significant difference, paired samples t-test ang gagamitin. And then for the effect size, the researcher here used eta squared, but others are also using Cohen's d, and I'm just not so sure about ano yung ginagamit ng ibang mga researchers. Okay, so ganyan lang yung pattern niya. So it's very easy. Kaya-kaya natin gawin yan. Next, the chapter 3 is the proposed innovation or intervention or strategy that you are going to use. Ito, during one of my lectures, sinabi ko na to before, na parang normally ginagawa naman na to ng mga teachers di ba? Tayo as a classroom teacher, gumagamit talaga tayo ng mga intervention. Hindi lang naman tayo nagre-rely lagi dun sa reference na binibigay ng ating school o ng DepEd. But sometimes we craft our own. And once you do that, halimbawa, gumawa ka ng mga sarili mong worksheets, gumawa ka ng mga sarili mong activity sheets sa mga bata, or nag-craft ka ng sarili mong video, that is already a considered action research, no? And papangalanan mo lang kung ano yung tawag mo dun sa iyong intervention. And then you just create the title in what? In augmenting the reading skills, the level of comprehension, their mathematical problem solving skills, like that. So, meron ka nang ginagawang ganito, mga ma'am and sir, only that, wala pa siyang pangalan. So, later on, you will have an idea on how to write a appropriate name for that intervention. Okay? So, the goal of your intervention is to present the innovation user with a structured opportunity to accept, help, and to make changes before things get even worse. Okay, that's according to Kelly 2017. So, anong nilalaman ng intervention part mo? Okay, so meron ka ditong, meron akong, ilang pages ba ito? O, diba? Napaka 1, 2, 3, 4. Parang almost 4 pages lang ginamit natin dito sa ating proposed innovation, intervention, and strategy. So, we have the pre-implementation phase, the implementation phase, and the post-implementation phase. In here, inanarrate mo lang kung ano yung gagawin ng mga bata doon sa intervention na ginawa mo. Ilang weeks ito maglalas or ilang month, let's say. And then, what will be the activities to be conducted or to be done? What will be the tests, if there are any, to be administered on week 1, week 2, and how are you going to implement that said intervention? Okay, it must be clear and stated with the help or with the use of tables or for the timelines. Okay? So, basically, sasabihin mo dun kung paano i-address nitong intervention yung gap na sinasabi mo. Ano ang gagawin mo as a teacher during the conduct of this or the administration of this intervention? Next is the action research methods. In the action research methods, you have to include there your participant. Sino ang iyong mga participants and other sources of data and information. Gagamit ka ba ng pre-test, ng post-test? Gagamit ka ba ng ganitong tool, ganyang tool? Okay, anyway, before I forget, pwede mong i-administer yung pre-test and post-test mo or yung mga intervention materials mo online, no? Or through Google Forms, or pwede rin physical copy, may hawak sila. It's up to you po. And then letter B, we have your data gathering methods, data analysis plan, and then the ethical issues. Okay, so sa participants and other sources of data and information, you have to include there the group that are going to use, the school year coverage, the name of the section where the intervention will be administered, and then the sampling method. Purposive ba to? Okay, random sampling ba ito? Alright? And then the reasons of considering the group of participants. Bakit sila yung pinili nating participant? Sila ba yung mga pinaka nakakuha ng mababang score during the exam, targeting that competency? Or sila ba yung may or ito ba yung least mastered competency nila? What else? Sila ba yung may pinaka mababang grado dun sa subject mo? So, you should state there why this particular group, why this particular section will be your respondents. B, data gathering methods. The steps to be followed upon solving the problem in the study. Okay, the pre-implementation phase, implementation phase, and then the post-implementation phase. You can have your interviews, FGDs, observations, surveys, checklists, rubrics, video and audio recordings, and then student outputs. Next, we have your data analysis plan, the statistical tools to be used in the study. Base this section in the action research questions. Ano yung gagamitin mo? Katulad kanina, di ba? For question number 1, ang gagamitin niya is mean standard deviation. For question number 2, ang gagawin niya is paired samples t-test. And for question number 3, ang gagamitin niya is a-test squared. Wala tayong problema dun sa computations dito. We can always ask the help of our mathematics teacher for the computation. Others, meron silang resident ng mga statisticians sa kanilang division. They're very lucky, no? Yung iba naman, pwede lang tayong makiusap sa mga kasamahan natin to help us with this, because I cannot personally explain how you're going to solve or to use these statistical tools. What I did was gumamit ako online calculator, no, and then I let it checked by our co-teacher or by my advisor in research, and then pareho naman sila, wala namang problema. So you can also use online calculator. Tapos parang meron silang application na ginagamit dito or software, SPSS, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong po. And then for the ethical issues, these are a set of principles that guide your research designs and practices. These principles include voluntary participation, informed consent, parental consent, of course, kailangan mo yung ibigay, and then anonymity, or ito yung magsusupport dun sa Data Privacy Act, that you would consider the confidentiality of everything. The name of the participants would be optional. And then, of course, the potential for harm, that all the results will be treated with utmost confidentiality, and the results communication. You would try to disseminate, you would then rather disseminate the information with their knowledge. So we have here the next parts. We have the action research work plan and timelines. Ito na mismo yung column. Tama ba? Ito mismo yung table na ginagamit namin. We have the strategies, the program, the activities, the tasks, and then the resources, and then the timeline. Okay? You can have your own. Depende sa division ninyo. But in our division, this is what we are using. So, ang dali lang niyang sundan. So, first, improve the student's performance. Activity, parang ito lang din yung nandun kanina sa part nung action research methods, nakalagay lang siya sa my table, no? And then next, the cost estimates. Ito lang din yun. Ito lang din yung table na gagamitin natin. The activities, the item descriptions, the quantity, the unit, and then the unit cost, and then the total amount. Very basic na po sa inyo ito. And then the plans for dissemination, yan na din mismo yung table na ginagamit natin. We have the objectives, the strategy, the audience, the resources, and then the timeline. Super simple. And lastly, yung references. Ang ginagamit natin ngayon is yung APA 7th edition nata ang ginagamit ngayon, ang suggested. Alright, so kung hindi kayo sure sa APA, pwede tayo mag-consult ng colleague. Pwede rin naman tayong mag-search or i-pattern natin sa mga existing na APA ang kanilang reference citation. Diba? It's very basic. Ang pinaka-importante, or siguro mahihirapan lang tayo sa pag-construct ng mga parts sa my narration or narrative ang form. Kasi kailangan mong i-back it up with research, with references, with evidence-based reference, diba? Bakit nga ba tayo nagkakandak nito? Because teachers sustain the inquiry mindset gained while learning the processes associated with conducting an action research. Teachers' sense of professional efficacy was enhanced, diba? Kahit na hindi pa tayo na-promote, at least meron tayong sense of efficacy kasi, sense of professional efficacy kasi at least meron kang action research, meron kang panlaban, that all of the other things you're doing inside the classroom is evidence-based, research-based. Action research had immediate benefits for students. Makikita mo, nag-improve yung kanilang performance right after ma-implement yung intervention mo. Right after mong mag-compile ng mga worksheets, right after mong gumawa ng mga videos, and so on and so forth. And though challenging, teachers perceive conducting action research was professionally valuable. Diba? Totoo naman. We do not stop from learning. We continue learning. And one way of proving that is that we conduct an action research. So we have here sample action research titles. Pakichat nyo na lang po. Diksyo klase sa paglinang ng kasanayan sa pagpapalawak ng talistaan sa Filipino 10. We have Octa-statics in the development of descriptive statistical analysis skills. Anyway, before I forget, etong diksyo klase is isa sa mga representative ng SDO Santiago City sa 2nd Regional Planning Conference or 2nd Regional Research Tilt or Competition. And ito naman is top 2 on regional level winner ng research about action research proposal. Okay, Octa-statics in the development of descriptive statistical analysis skills in practical research 2 among grade 12 students. And we have here words in enhancing the vocabulary skill, winning action research proposal din ito sa division and representative also sa region. And this one is number 2 in the division and regional finalist in self and the mastery level in dimensions of human sexuality. P ito, MAPE. Prompt in developing writing and speaking skills of grade 8 students. And then meron siyang meaning. Okay, I hope I was able to help guys, fellow teachers. Once again, meron pa pala, scalar for science sign off. So this is the number 1 pala. Sa completed action research, completed. Number 2 yung self, ito yung champion, regional finalist. And then LIRIP and the app skill comprehension competence of grade 10 learners. AGAP, pagtaas ng level ng pagsusuri sa elemento ng maikling kwento, Filipino Okay, parang may mali lang dun sa nang. Okay, next, blended learning approaches and the implication towards achieving quality engaging instruction in AGLIPAY East District. These are regional entries. Expose me in the competencies of tourism, promotions, services of students of Cabarogis National School of Arts and Trades. SILI and the performance of grade 7 students. And yun lang. I think that's it. I hope I was able to help you guys. Thank you so much. Why don't we hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. Till then.
June 19, 1968, tinupad ang munting pangarap.
Rizal Bayo High School ang tawag, inayos sa sama-samang pagsisikap. Ang baryo ay naging barangay, sa pag-unlad para ay sumabay.